Right now, you are probably listening to the hum of traffic or the faint patter of rain against your window. You look at the street outside, it is completely dry. Or maybe it is covered in a familiar brown puddle. For decades, this has been your normal. But what if a single choice completely rewrote your daily reality? A staggering number was recently brought to light in public audits: 1.9 trillion pesos. That is the colossal sum allocated for flood control projects across the Philippine archipelago over the span of a decade. It is a number so massive that human psychology struggles to comprehend its scale. If you were to spend 1 peso every single second, it would take you more than 60,000 years to exhaust that fortune. Instead, in our current timeline, that wealth evaporated into an invisible web of endless road liftings, half-finished dikes, and mysterious administrative overhead. But what if the timeline glitched? What if every single centavo of that 1.9 trillion pesos went exactly where it was supposed to go? Imagine waking up tomorrow morning to the sound of a Category 5 typhoon roaring outside your bedroom. You brace yourself for the inevitable. You expect the muddy water to seep through your front door. You prepare for the power grid to collapse and the economy to grind to a halt. But when you step outside, you find the streets perfectly bone dry. How could an entire tropical nation defeat the monsoon? In this parallel universe, the Philippines did not just build wider gutters or higher concrete walls. They completely re-engineered the very relationship between human civilization and nature. The country looked at Tokyo's famous G-Cans project, the massive underground water discharge channel that protects the Japanese capital from catastrophic storm surges. With 1.9 trillion pesos at their disposal, Filipino engineers built an even grander subterranean labyrinth beneath Metro Manila, Central Luzon, and Davao. Massive vertical silos, each as tall as a 20-story building, sit silently beneath the bustling public plazas. They act as giant, invisible drains during intense downpours. When a super typhoon strikes, millions of tons of raging floodwaters are instantly swallowed by the earth. The water travels through miles of pristine concrete tunnels deep underground, guided safely away from homes and businesses. It is then discharged into the ocean by high-powered turbine engines running on clean energy. Did you know that your entire city could have a hidden fortress protecting it from beneath? According to a seminal study by Dr. Kelvin Rodolfo, a leading geologist who has spent decades analyzing the sinking of the global south, the real enemy is not just the rain. The true crisis is subsidence, caused by the frantic pumping of groundwater by millions of households and factories. In our glitched utopia, the 1.9 trillion pesos solved this at the root. The government constructed massive desalination plants along the coasts and advanced rainwater harvesting networks in every province. Groundwater extraction was completely banned because every citizen finally had access to free, abundant, clean-running water. As a result, the rapid sinking of cities like Caloocan, Malabon, and Bulacan stopped entirely. The ground beneath your feet stabilized. The sea stopped swallowing the land. What would it feel like to know the ground you sleep on isn't slowly disappearing? But the transformation did not stop underground. It completely redesigned the surface of the nation. Engineers implemented the sponge city concepts pioneered by architectural researcher Dr. Yu Kongjian, whose work demonstrated that nature can absorb water far better than concrete. Millions of hectares of concrete urban spaces were ripped up and replaced with permeable wetlands, public parks, and urban forests. Mangrove forests were aggressively replanted along thousands of kilometers of vulnerable coastlines, creating a green, living wall against ocean surges. These ecosystems do not just stop floods. They purify the air, lower urban temperatures by several degrees, and provide beautiful public sanctuaries for millions of families. You no longer live in a concrete jungle of gray walls and stagnant air. You live in a green metropolis where nature and technology coexist in perfect equilibrium. Think about the economic domino effect of this structural glitch. In a report published by the Japan International Cooperation Agency, or JICA, it was estimated that traffic gridlock and flooding in Metro Manila alone cost the economy billions of pesos every single day. In our utopia, that economic drain is completely erased. Businesses never close due to weather. Supply chains never break down. Millions of workers never lose a day's wages because they are stranded on a flooded highway. The national GDP surges by double digits year after year. The trillions of pesos saved from disaster relief are automatically redirected into building state-of-the-art public schools, universal healthcare facilities, and high-speed bullet trains connecting Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. The country transitions from a developing nation to a global economic superpower within a single decade. Why did we ever accept that a rainy day should cost us our future? Your health is also entirely transformed by this missing money. In our current timeline, every major flood brings a quiet wave of deadly waterborne diseases like leptospirosis, dengue, and gastroenteritis. Hospitals overflow every rainy season with patients who simply walk through contaminated city streets. In the utopian timeline, these diseases are completely eradicated. The state-of-the-art drainage networks separate storm runoff from sewage with absolute precision. Advanced water treatment facilities process every drop of water before it ever touches a river or a bay. Manila Bay and the Pasig River are not toxic dead zones anymore. They are crystal clear, thriving aquatic sanctuaries where children swim safely and families gather for evening strolls. The air smells like fresh rain and blooming flowers, not stagnant pollution and decay. The psychological relief of this alternate reality is perhaps the deepest change of all. For generations, Filipinos have lived with a profound subconscious trauma tied to the weather. Every dark cloud in the sky triggers a subtle wave of anxiety in your chest. You worry about your car getting ruined, your house getting destroyed, or your loved ones getting trapped in a current. In the utopia, that generational anxiety is completely gone. Rain is no longer viewed as a terrifying threat or a symbol of impending chaos. Instead, a typhoon is viewed with absolute calm. It is simply a beautiful natural spectacle to be watched from a cozy window, knowing with absolute certainty that your civilization is completely safe. The collective mental health of an entire population heals when survival is no longer a daily question. But how did this glitch happen in the first place? It required a fundamental shift in how power operates. In this timeline, a sophisticated tamper-proof blockchain ledger was implemented to track every single centavo of public funds. Artificial intelligence algorithms designed by transparency researchers automatically audited every contract, every supplier, and every concrete block used in construction. Any attempt to siphon off a kickback or award a contract to a political dynasty instantly triggered an automatic shutdown of the system and a public alert. The political culture shifted from a game of patronage to a race for structural excellence. Corruption became mathematically impossible. You look back at your room, and you look back at the world outside your window. The vision fades, and the stark reality of our current timeline settles back in. The trillions are gone, and the puddles remain. But now you know exactly what that money was actually worth. It was not just paper or numbers on a ledger. It was the blueprint for a completely different way of living. It was the price tag of an entire paradise that was quietly taken from you. But a simulation is only a sequence of data until human choices bring it into existence. This missing paradise is not a fantasy. It is the math of what your nation already possesses. The only thing standing between you and this reality is a single recurring choice. Every election cycle, you are handed the power to patch the system or keep the glitch running. When you step into that voting booth, your pen carries the weight of every unbuilt tunnel, every flooded home, and every stolen future. You hold the power to demand an era where plunderers are not rewarded with patronage, but punished heavily for their crimes against the country. If the timeline is ever going to permanently shift, it begins when you refuse to accept a brown puddle as your normal. It begins when you decide that a stolen paradise is a crime that can no longer be forgiven. Tonight, when the sun goes down, you are going to listen to the hum of traffic or the faint patter of rain against your window, and you will realize that the future of an entire country isn't waiting for a glitch in the simulation, it is waiting for you.